My fellow bassists, welcome back! Today I'm going to show you 7 bass lines that develop speed. Because even though there are plenty of exercises that will help you play faster, sometimes it's just a lot more fun and musical to play actual songs that will help you play faster. I personally practiced each of these bass lines in the early stages of my career, and if you do the same, you'll be able to play faster, your technique will improve, and you'll have a lot of fun in the process. Alright, we're going to start with a really heavy hitter. This one's called Panic Attack by Dream Theater with John Myung on bass. I'll play it for you now and then break it down a bit and give you some tips on how to learn it. So clearly this one is really fast, but luckily it is quite repetitive, so once you've got just a few measures learned, you've kind of got the whole thing down. The first really big thing here is that you need to tune your bass down a whole step so that you're in D standard, which is D, G, C, and F. I usually play the entire bass line with alternating fingers in the right hand like this. But you might find it easier to use some raking like this. Either way, just make sure that you practice it slowly at first, master that tempo, and then gradually increase the tempo until you get to full speed. And if you don't own a metronome, just make sure to tap the link in the description to use the Basecamp metronome, which is completely free and easy to use. The next awesome bass line for developing speed is Phantom of the Opera by Iron Maiden with the amazing Steve Harris on bass. If you're trying to develop speed, you can pick almost any Iron Maiden song, and Steve's Harris bass line will probably help you practice. But this one in particular is really fast, and it's in 12/8 time signature, so you don't just get good at playing fast in 4/4. Something I find really helpful when I'm practicing this bass line is to make a mental note of which finger I'm using to play those accented notes. For example, in the first part of the bass line, I know that I'm using my second finger for the first 3 accents and then my first finger for the 4th accent. This just really helps you to stop getting tripped up by the string crossings. Alright, it's time to get a little bit funky now. The next bass line is What Is Hip by Tower of Power with the late, great Rocco Prestia on bass. This one's not the fastest bass line of all time, but the string crossings do get tricky and the relentless 16th notes do get tiring if you're playing the entire song. I would really recommend practicing that fill at the end of each phrase in isolation over and over again. Also, start your practice at a slow tempo as always, and keep your body and hands consciously relaxed, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to keep going throughout the whole song. Alright, it's time to get back into some metal. Let's take a look at the first lead bass solo in Orion. The first three examples we looked at were all bass lines, but this one is going to help you get faster at lead playing. Again, make a mental note of which finger you're using to play those G string notes, because that'll stop you getting tripped up by the string crossings. I'm using alternating fingers all the time, and so the first accent is with my second finger, and then the next two accents are with my first finger. But you might use some raking, so just play it at a slow tempo and figure out what works best for you. Make a mental note and then just try to replicate that at full tempo. Alright, now we have a bit of a wild card. So far we've only looked at fingerstyle bass lines. Let's try some slap now with Me and My Bass Guitar by Victor Wooten. This one sounds super complicated and it is a little bit tough at first, but once you've got the coordination down, it's actually not that bad. Get it perfect at a really slow tempo and keep the unused fingers on your left hand resting lightly on the strings so that they're all muted, and you keep everything percussive like this. Make your strums really strong on beats 2 and 4, because that's what's going to provide that really awesome backbeat. And once you've really got it down, you can increase the speed a lot, and you can actually use this as a fill in any bass line just to have an impressive little moment. Okay, now it's time for an absolute classic, YYZ by Rush with Geddy Lee on bass. I don't have many specific tips for this song other than just, of course, starting slow and gradually increasing the tempo. You can do that easily with the free online metronome in the description, or if you want to go the extra mile, you can download slow and fast backing tracks on the Basecamp Patreon. Alright, now we're at the final bass line, which is one of my all-time favorites, Hysteria by Muse with Chris Wolstenholme on bass. This is another bass line that I think is not quite as hard as it sounds. It's certainly not easy, and it does get tiring once you've been playing it non-stop for 3 minutes, but there's not a lot of string crossing involved, which helps a lot, and it's also quite repetitive. The best way I've found to practice this bass line is to split it into 3 chunks. So you've got the A string chunk, which is this one, the E string chunk, and the D string chunk. Once you can play each one perfectly, practice the whole thing slowly and then gradually increase the tempo. And in terms of how to get a good tone for Hysteria, that could be a whole lesson in itself, but in general, the most important thing is to just have a distorted signal mixed with a clean signal. That's what's going to give you a really powerful sound of the distortion mixed with the clarity and precision of the clean signal. Alright, that's it for today's lesson. Make sure to tap like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and also practice each of these bass lines a few times per week, and your speed and technique will improve dramatically. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next lesson.